Welcome to the 13th lecture of Economics and Management. In today's lecture, we will talk about cost management system and activity costing system. We have started the cost management system into last lecture. So, cost management system means it contains the tools and techniques which are used to assess the effect of management on the cost of the company or overall costing system. The topics that we are going to cover in today's lecture are: we will know about what is product and period cost, product and period cost in a merchandising company, product on period cost in a manufacturing company, what is traditional costing system, activity based costing system, procedure for conducting an ABC, and symbols used in a process based map. So what is product cost and what is period cost? So product cost we say associated or identified with a product or purchased for a resale. These costs are inventoriable, meaning that they can be stored before they can be used up. So meaning of product cost is that, let's say there is any company who has bought 1000 kilogram of steel bars, right? Now that company used 100 kilogram of steel bar for making some product, and then they sell that product, right? So inventoriable cost is the cost of that 900 kilogram steel bar that they have stored. And the now whenever they will use 100 kilogram of steel bar for making some product, and then they will sell that product, then that will become expenses, and that will be the overall product cost, right? So examples of these are direct material cost, direct labor cost, indirect manufacturing cost. Now period cost is what? The cost that is calculated for a particular time period. For example, the selling expenses and administrative expenses. Selling expenses can be calculated for whole year, and it will not calculated for a particular product. It will be calculated for types of product that company is producing. And the definition is: period cost are those that are deducted as expenses during the current period without going through a inventory stage. So this is product and period cost. Now product and period cost in a merchandising company. So let's say there is one merchandising company. So what that company do that company buy some product and sell that product, right? They are not manufacturing anything, they are working like a traders. They are buying something and then they are selling that products to some higher price so that they will get a profit. Now you will understand in a better manner what is product cost and period cost in this example. Now merchandising inventory, right? Now let's say that merchandising company is selling steel bars, right? So let's say they buy 1000 kilogram of steel bars, right? Then what they did, they sell 100 kilogram of steel bar to some other company. Now merchandise inventory will contain the cost of that 900 kilogram steel bar that they have stored, that they haven't sold yet, and the cost of goods sold contains the cost of 100 steel bars that they have sell to some other company. Now let's say they sell that 100 kilogram steel bars to some higher price. So sales will contain the cost at which they have sell that 100 steel bars. Now sales minus cost of goods sold will be your gross margin. So there should be a minus sign. So sales minus cost of goods sold will be your gross margin. Let's say they have buy the single steel bar for 100 rupees. So the cost of goods sold will be 100 into 100, that is 100 price of single sale bar into 100 they have sold. So 100 into 100. and now let's say they sell that steel bar to rupees 200. So their sales will be 200 into 100, that is 200 price at which they have sell and 100 the number of steel bars. So that will be sales minus cost of goods sold equal to your gross margin. And all these cost, that is inventory cost, that is cost of 900 steel bars that they have stored, plus cost of goods sold, that is 100 steel bars, will be your product cost. Now you know the gross margin. Now gross margin minus selling and administrative expenses. So whatever cost they required for selling that product, and some they have some supervisors or they have some labor working as a administrative. So selling and administrative expenses will be calculated for whole year. That will be your period cost. So gross margin minus period cost will be your operating income. So this is for any merchandise company. Now product and period cost in a manufacturing company. In last example we have seen that merchandising company were acting as a trader, like they were buying something and they were selling something. They were not processing, they were not manufacturing. So this is an example of a company who is manufacturing something. So what it says, direct material purchase. Let's say they have buy some raw material. So that is their direct material purchase cost. So direct material inventory, they will put into it in a inventory. Now they will take some amount of raw material and they will process that raw material to produce some product. Now at this stage, that is work in process inventory, two costs will get added into it. First is direct labor cost, the labor that they are using for making that product, and indirect manufacturing cost. So like machine cost and all. Now they will have a finished product in inventory. So there will be finished product into the inventory. So all these cost will be added into a final finished product cost, and that will be your product cost. So when you sell some part of finished product, that will become your expenses, right? So your total sales, you will sell that product at a higher cost. So your total sales minus the cost you required for that good will be your gross margin, and your gross margin minus selling and administrative expenses, that is your period cost, will be your operating income. Now let's take example. Let's say there is a cupboard making company. So the steel is a direct material they have purchased, that will be in inventory. Now they will process the steel to make a cupboard. So labor cost will get added into it, indirect manufacturing cost will be added into it. Now you have produced 100 cupboards, let's say. So 100 cupboards, out of 100 cupboards you are selling only 10 cupboards. So that 10 cupboards will be cost of goods sold, and remaining 90 cupboards will be into your inventory, like you are storing it and you will sell it after some time. So let's say the total cost of producing one cupboard will be 1000 rupees, and you sell that cupboard to 2000 rupees. Then cost of goods sold will be 10 cupboards into 1000, and sales will be 10 cupboards into 2000 because you are selling it at price 2000. So your total sales cost, or your total sales minus your cost of goods sold, will be your gross margin, and gross margin minus period cost, that is selling and administrative expenses, will be your operating income. There are two types of costing system. First is traditional costing system and second is activity based costing system. So we have talked about traditional costing system so far, but this is the diagrammatic representation. So the product cost can be calculated on the basis of direct material cost, direct labor cost. So depending upon how much raw material we are using, we can directly attribute the direct material cost into the product cost. Depending upon how much labor the company has used, we can directly attribute the direct labor cost into the product cost. So these are the two costs which can directly traced depending upon their amount. But indirect cost are can't be directly traced into the product cost. So they can be attributed into the product cost using cost driver. For example, machine hour. Let's say there is one machine which is producing two products. So let's say product one is taken time 1 hour and product 2 is taken time 2 hours. Then depending upon the number of hours used by that product on that machine, the cost will be attributed to the product cost. So machine hour is a cost driver in this case. Now all unallocated value chain cost can be unallocated cost. So the we have learned in last lecture what is meaning of unallocated cost. So direct cost and indirect cost will have relationship with the product cost, but unallocated cost don't have any relationship with the product cost. For example, we have seen the example of a service provided to the patient. So if there is any hospital who is facing any legal cost, so that legal cost is not related to that cost of patient. So this is example of unallocated cost. So let's take one example of traditional costing system. Billing department at an electric utility company provides inquiry and bill printing services to 1,20,000 residential and 20,000 commercial customers. Billing department's costs are all indirect. Currently, it allocates all indirect costs based on the number of account inquiries of the two customer classes. Right. So in this case, all cost they have said that all costs are indirect cost. So there must be a cost driver. So in this case, the number of inquiries will be a cost driver. Depending upon number of inquiries, the cost of customer will get allocated into the product cost or service cost. Billing department's total cost last month was rupees 565,340 and it received 23,000 inquiries that month, of which 18,000 were residential account inquiries, that is 78.26%. So now 78.26% are the residential inquiries, then remaining will be the commercial inquiries, right? So you can calculate it. Find cost allocated to residential and commercial accounts. So let's solve it. So as I have told you, cost driver is number of inquiries, total indirect cost which is given 565,340 rupees. Inquiries, there are a total 23,000 inquiries, out of which they have given that 78.26% are residential inquiries, that is 18,000. 78.26% of 23,000, that is 18,000. So remaining will be the commercial, that is 21.74% of 23,000, which is 5,000. Now cost per inquiry will be total cost divided by total number of inquiries. So total cost is 565,340 which is given, divided by total number of inquiries 23,000 which is also given. So the cost per inquiry will be 24.58 rupees per inquiry. Now indirect cost allocated to residential inquiries will be total cost into total number of inquiries. So it will be 565,340 into 0.7826, right? So it will be 442,440 rupees. And for commercial inquiries, it will be 565,340 into 0.2174. So that is 122,900 rupees. So now the cost per residential account will be indirect cost allocated to residential inquiries divided by 120,000, right? And that will be, that is total number of inquiries 1,20,000 that is given. So it will be 3.69 rupees per residential account. Likewise, cost per commercial account will be 122,900 divided by 20,000. So 20,000 is given. So it will be 6.15 rupees per commercial account. So this is how it is solved. You go through the example once again and write it down so you will understand it in a better manner. Now second is activity based costing system. So activity based costing system is basically a two-stage costing system. So the again the product cost can be calculated into a two stages. First, we know that there is indirect cost, directly traced cost, and unallocated cost. So directly traced costs are direct material resource cost, direct labor resource cost, and other direct uh, resource cost. So that can be directly traced, like material cost will be directly traced depending upon how much material we are buying. Labor cost can be directly traced depending upon how much labor we are taking into consideration. Likewise, what we were doing in traditional costing system, indirect cost was attributed to the product cost using cost driver. In this case, we are identifying the number of activities. So instead of directly attributing the cost using cost driver, we are finding out the activities. Like for example, resource 1 is doing activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, activity 4, like activity n. Then how much time activity 1 is done by resource 1, how much time activity 2 is done by resource 2. Depending on that, using cost driver, the cost will get attributed to the product cost. Right, for example, let's say there is a machine who is performing n activities. Then for activity 1 how much hours are taken, for activity 2 how much hours are taken, for activity 3 how much hours are taken. And let's say for product 1 5 activities are done. For producing product 1 on machine 1, 5 activities are done. So depending on number of activities taken, number of activities performed, using cost driver, the cost will get attributed to the product cost. So this is how it works. Other unallocated value chain cost will get calculated as a unallocated costs. So there are four steps for conducting an activity based costing system. First is we have to determine the project scope, what is cost objective, related cost drivers, and the most important thing is key activities, that is number of activities or what activities we are going to perform. Second, develop a process based map representing the flow of activities. We have to find out the flow of activities, after which activity next, what will be the next activity, after that what will be the next activity. We have to find out the resources and their relationships. Now third is collect relevant data concerning cost and physical flow of cost driver units among resources and activities. And last is calculate and interpret a new activity based information. You will understand these four steps in next slide. So let's take one example. An auto ancillary company producing a plastic dashboard casing for the control panel of trucks. For this requires several activities, but we will consider only two types of activities. So the work is we have to produce a plastic dashboard casing for the control panel of trucks, and there are so many activities performed during this procedure, but we are going to take only two activities. First is machine setup activity and second is molding machine processing activity. That is, first we have to set up the machine and then how that machine is processing. So the resources required to carry out these activities include, first is a direct resource, second is indirect resource. So the direct resource is resin material which is required, and indirect resources are injection molding machine, operating labor, and electrical energy. Now, now as you know, like flowchart, in flowchart there are some symbols to show something, right? So in this case also there are some symbols used in a process based mapping. So the first symbol is used for fixed cost resource, the rectangle is used for activity, the symbol is used for variable cost resources, the fourth symbol is used for cost objective, R is known as activity or resource consumption rate, and the arrow shows physical flow of cost driver units among activities and resources. So there is one example. So the, as you know, if you remember the symbols, the first symbol is for fixed cost resources. So sorry. So the first symbol is used for fixed cost resource. So your fixed cost is molding machine depreciation for rupees 40,000. Second is operator labor wages 1,25,000 is a cost. Energy is resource rupees 3 per kilowatt. So that is a variable cost. And okay, R acha. So now the last symbol in that we have shown that the truck dashboard costing for 800 casing we have to perform. Now the arrows shows how it flows. Now what it shows, so the molding machine depreciation is used for setup activity as well as machine processing, because row is going towards setup activity, arrow is going towards setup activity and machine processing activity. Operator labor wages is used for setup activity and machine processing activity. Energy is used for machine processing activity and resin materials also. Likewise, setup activity is used for truck dashboard costing for 800 casings and for some other components. Machine processing activity is used for truck dashboard casing and for other components, and resin material is used for truck dashboard casing. Now you understand all these symbols and for which how it is used. Now what is meaning of R1, R2, R3? So R1 is 0.01. It shows that for making one truck dashboard casing, 0.01 setup activity is used. Right, for making one dashboard truck dashboard casing, 0.01 setup activity is used. So for making 800 casings, how much setup activity is used? So it will be 800 into 0.01, right? Now R2. So R2 equals to 0.25. So what it shows, for making one truck dashboard casing, 0.25 machine processing hours are used. 0.25 machine processing hours are used. And R3 is 0.6. So for making one truck dashboard casing, 0.6 kg of resin material is used. So total resin material is used as 800 into 0.6. Total machine processing activities for 800 casing are 800 into 0.25, and total setup activity for 800 casing are 800 into 0.01. Now R4 equal to 8 and R5 equals to 16. So it shows for one setup activity, 8 molding machine depreciation machine hours are used, right? For making one setup activity, 16 operator labor wages are used. That is R5 equals to 16. The arrow is towards operator labor wages. So for one setup activity, 16 labor wages are used. R6 equals to 1. So for one machine processing activity, one machine hour is used. One machine hour of molding machine depreciation is used. So the arrow is going towards machine hours. R7 equals to 3 means what? For 3 machine processing activity, for one machine processing activity, 3 operator labor wages are used. And R8 equals to 0.3. So for one machine processing activity, 0.3 kilowatt of energy is used. Right. So this is what is meaning of R1, R2, R3, R5, R6, R7, R8. So this is what written here. For one casing requirement, 0.01 setup, right? So 0.01 into 800. So it will be 8 setups. 0.25 machine hours. So 0.25 into 800. So that will be 200 machine hours. And 0.6 kg of resin material. So 0.6 into 800. So that will be 480 kg of resin material. Now you know the cost. So setup activity. So you can, on the basis of that, you can calculate total amount it is required. So setup activities 8 setups into 8, so it will be 64. Operator labors will be 16 into 8, so it will be 48. And machine processing activity 200 into 1, that is 200. Operator labor will be 3 into 200, that is 600. So the total cost of molding machine depreciation is 264. Operator labor is 648. Energy is 60 rupees. Resin material is 480. On the basis of this, you can calculate the total cost. So that is what written in this particular slide. You go through the example once again and go through the solution once again, so that you will understand it in a better manner. So we will stop here for today. Thank you so much.